Preparing to stream live. It's just so much easier doing it live. So I don't have to
It
record.
is.
There we go. All right. Welcome back. Look, we're on a streak, 2 in a row, two podcasts in a row. Bags with Nick, JFDI, and Gotham GP. GP, how do you say GP? How do you say your stock twits handle? How would you pronounce it?
It's called G Paisa.
Paisa.
Paisa, right? Paisa. It's
like a paisan.
It means money.
All right.
In my language.
Good enough.
Yeah. So yeah. It's stupid. Like I some long time ago, someone used to call me G Money because they don't want to take the time to actually pronounce my name. So I'm just gonna call you G Money. So I was like,
It's stock.
This is what I'm gonna use. Yeah.
G Paisa.
I get that a lot. That sounds too difficult. Take a few minutes to actually learn how to say my name, and it might not be that difficult. But it's all good.
I don't think it's difficult. Gotham's not hard.
Yeah, it's Gotham, if that makes it better.
Gotham.
It's like G. It's like GOTUM, but it's got more of a O, right? Because it's just a completely different language. So it's different alphabet, all that stuff. So it just takes some time to get used to. But GO like TUM is probably the easiest, like phonetically.
The more we know. Let's talk about the market.
Yeah, it should be an interesting week.
Yeah, so we had a nice little run up, and then Thursday, Friday, some selling, but all in all, the S&P up more than 2.5%. The futures, NASDAQ up 3.4%. The Dow 2%, and the Russell 3.6%. So the Russell actually with the biggest move of the week.
Last time I looked
but Thursday and Friday, I think left everybody, I shouldn't say everybody. I think Thursday and Friday left the squeamish and the bears, saying, see, we told you it's going to sell off. Right. Anyway, you said
what was wrong with Thursday? Are you talking about just Friday?
Well, Thursday, I think there was like that morning sell off, and then it higher, right? Like that was sort of like the opening of we told you it was going to go down, but it closed higher. And then Thursday or Friday rather, it just kept going lower. Didn't close at the lows, but anyway. So important week, Nick, you were saying. We have all of mega cap tech basically reporting. We have a Fed announcement. What else is important? It doesn't sound like a big week at all.
I mean, I think Apple and Amazon is going to be the biggest driver this week. I think it has less to do with the Fed. Unless there's like some
bill, by the way.
Yeah, say that again.
The chips bill?
Oh yeah, what? And there was a crypto bill that went through too, right?
Yeah, there's all kinds of bills. There's all kinds of stuff to scare the living bejesus out of you. There's a lot of fear in the market.
Yeah, it's palatable.
But the VIX doesn't represent it. So like the people who are short have been basically underperforming the whole year, unless you're like one of those zero DTE traders or like opportunistic 1 or 2 day swing traders. It's been hard to be a hedged person in this market because you got destroyed. We've talked about this before too, right? Because volatility hasn't had that massive spike that everyone's been looking for. So every time we get like a big down day, people start covering because they've been hedged for so long, but then that leads to underperformance because everyone has been hedged. It's like this vicious circle of life, and longs are getting smoked, and long volatility traders are getting smoked. Hedge traders are getting smoked. So unless you're, and I'm talking about the masses, I'm not talking about us traders that are using 1 or 2 day or 3 day swings and saying, oh my God, I'm making so much money in this market, right? So it's been interesting to see all this stuff.
And just looking at the VIX, like, I mean, to me, the RSI and the chart looks like it's breaking down. Like that curve has held for a while, and that RSI uptrend has held for a while. But I mean, it's, you know, it's always hard to gauge on Fed week, and then you have all of mega cap earnings in play too. But at the same time, like, there's nothing here that has me like, oh my God, it's just going to ramp to infinity.
No, but I think the way that Tesla and Netflix kind of responded to earnings, at least I'm hoping that it's a more telltale sign of us breaking higher, at least.
Yeah, Tesla went higher, right? Like Tesla, you know, came down lower after the aftermarket, but Thursday, Friday it even closed green.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just much more inclined to pay attention to the Teslas and Netflix than I am, like, you know, Snapchat. You know, so
yeah, and that's the thing, right? We sold off.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I think that the market's going, it's going to be a very like stock pickers market in terms of like, there's still names that are probably going to continue to get absolutely punished, like Snapchat. But if you're in the, you know, the right names, I guess just kind of paying attention to the, you know, those that break higher out of these kind of like long consolidations that we've had over the last, since like basically May, June. But I mean, that's just kind of what I'm paying attention to. And like, you know, you've said Amazon and Google, I mean, Amazon and Apple, I think, are going to be the major drivers in terms of like the direction in which this market picks. Are we going to break higher? Are we just going to chop around in this range somewhere?
Well, so Apple officially reclaimed the 2021 week moving average as of last week.
Yeah.
So that's important to me. You also had the MACD
and the 50
and the 50, right? It's kind of all muddled in the middle. So it's really interesting to see the strength in Apple. You can argue that it's a bear wedge and it's going to break down on earnings and all that other stuff, but until it does, it's really kind of hard. Like there's bullish momentum to say that it's not going to break down. And it's been resilient, to say the least.
I'd love to see some gap downs, like some EPS gap downs, and really get bought up. That'd be something I want to see happen too. You know,
I think we're in the phase where it was kind of like, you know, when XLE first had its dip, everyone's like, oh, buy the dip, and then the dip just kept dipping, and you're like,
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this is bullish. Let me look. XLE still like, you know, doing really well for the year, and I'm like, it's gonna get worse.
I haven't looked at Gush in a while. I mean, XLE in a while.
So I'm in the camp that we're in that phase where bears are gonna start saying are still trying to short, or not. I don't want to say bears, but people who are short the market, the fear, or whatever you want to call it. I think we're at that phase where it seems to be every time we have one day down or one reversal down, the noise amongst FinTwit on how it's all going to collapse it just gets exorbitantly louder, and then the next day we have a move higher, right? And if you're looking at the Qs in general, you had this kind of island gap down from the June CPI numbers, and we essentially held that kind of low on Friday, even though we had like a reversal. There's a lot of lack of liquidity. So intraday or daily reversals aren't that important. It's to see if there's follow through, right? So yes, Friday was a bearish day and lots of things got pummeled and lack of liquidity aids in that decision. But Snapchat being the bellwether for tech is just like the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And that's 2 times in a row now that Snapchat has taken a shit for freaking months, but it's 2 times in a row that it's kind of dragged the market down. And what's happened since that last Snapchat report where they guided down, right? We've pretty much gone sideways here. So it's just something to keep in mind on overall price action.
All the like the 10 and 20 day both have curled back through the 50 on the Qs.
Yep.
We were in overbought territory as of Thursday, Friday. So like to be long going into the weekend or to put on new longs would be very difficult. And it made more, at least on a day trade, from a day trade perspective, like I felt that made more sense to be leaning short on Friday, just being how overbought we were. And like, again, it was on light volume, the Q on across the indexes, like the volume was below average. So I don't know. I still think the charts look good for higher.
Yeah, I think the charts look good, but I'm expecting like volume for a while, right?
Yep.
Like it's just overall market conditions, sentiment.
The market's exhausted.
QT.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
I just think the market's exhausted. Largely sellers.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reality is, like, if you're looking at Qs, look at how they closed, right? That was a pretty strong close on the Qs on Friday. And you had an kind of an outside day because it broke the prior day lows, but it didn't. So the difference is, like, if you're looking at the charts, is it broke the prior day lows, but it almost previously in our regimen of just being down every day, it's been breaking the prior day lows and then closing below the prior day lows, right? Like it doesn't give you the opportunity to really it was been moving so fast. So it's something to keep in mind. We're hitting that kind of end of May 7-day kind of supply zone where we went sideways, and then China shut down things, and CPI data came out for June, and they gapped it down 3 straight days in a row for like 10.5%. So we tagged that on Thursday. We tried to break higher on Friday and we reversed, but we still stayed in that supply zone here. So like kind of above the range of
295. Oh, on the
yeah. And we're back up. So the thing that I talked about earlier was 297.45. That's the pivot yearly low on the Qs. And we reclaimed it, we held it, and we're still holding it here. So if you break a pivot and reclaim it, that's what you're looking for
sure
on like larger time frames, right? That's pretty huge to me that we didn't continue going down. We did for a little bit, but then now we're starting to recover. So it's kind of the line in sand short term on where the markets go. As long as we're holding that 297.50 area, I think we're going to be okay. But if we break below that, yeah, there's probably going to be added pressure here. I'm also just seeing that like people are trying to short, right? Like you've been conditioned into shorting every rip and buying SQQ or puts or whatever. And now even that's kind of starting to underperform. So just something to keep in mind in terms of you have a lot of do we also have some big weekly moving averages covered reclaimed as well?
Yes.
Like the 10-day or whatever, the 10-week moving average.
Yep.
Yeah, they all got A lot of them were reclaimed.
Yeah, even on the queues, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
correct, sir.
And what I like about the concept is like the weekly 9 is now curling up on the queues, right? Which is inherently a change in direction, right? If you want to talk about general trend direction, the weekly 9, the weekly 8, the weekly 10 are all starting to curl up on the queues. You had a 4-week flag underneath the 9-week, and then we broke out this week.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that since what, like May?
Yeah, basically
May of this year.
Yeah. In terms of like those moving averages starting to curl back up.
We had
but it didn't curl back up, right? Like on the weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that period in March where it turned up briefly those 3 weeks and then it failed. And basically from the beginning of April till now, it's been sloped down and price underneath the 9 or 10 or 8 or whichever one you want to use.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but it's been a hard rejection for months now, right? So it's nice to see that maybe it all fails tomorrow and we die a very vicious death and the bears are right, but so far things are starting to curl. I also like the difference between March and now is that March is straight up. It literally just went straight right through the weekly 9 in 1 week on OpEx, right? And it's not that type of environment to have a V shape unless there's like some kind of pivot. There's still lots of like headwinds and stuff like that. So to see us go for 4 weeks right under the 9-week, well, technically, if you start from like the beginning of March, we've essentially tried to kind of reclaim the 9-week for the last 7 weeks, and we rejected it, but we actually flagged for 4 weeks underneath, and then we reclaimed it last week. So, and then you have the bullish MACD cross on the weekly. You have the RSI continue to hold its own, and you essentially, it's the highest close since what, like May 23rd week. So like obviously this week it's going to be really important. Lots of stuff coming out, lots of earnings, and earnings are always the key drivers to fundamentals eventually take over, right, guys? And we'll start to see. Well, the biggest thing is going to be the currency headwind. The strong dollar is going to be the biggest thing to be watching on a lot of these. Like, because if they're, to me, is if they are reporting amazing earnings, but their hits like IBM, for example, and IBM just sucked in general, but IBM, for example, is taking a big currency headwind. It's something to keep in mind, right? Because that means their ability to earn is still there, but it's just getting impacted by strong macro conditions. So if we do see gap downs, you might see what Nick was talking about, which is people buying it up because it's short-term pain, hopefully.
Sure.
So our homie Bihanu, what's up, Bihanu, in the chat says, GP, why did the market rally last week? Is it because of food inflation easing via Ukraine grain deal plus the euro bounce due to gas supply? I mean,
do me a favor, Bags.
Yeah.
Can you pull up the UUP chart on a weekly basis?
Yeah. I know where we're going with this.
I think that's your reason. Like yours looks green, but that's a nice red.
Hang on.
Handle.
Let me put it on the GP approved version.
It's just easier for people to visualize, right?
There's the volume too, baby.
Yeah. And on top of that, you also have the 3 gap ups, right? That's the thing that I look for in like an extended move, where it could be on a weekly time frame, it could be daily, whatever you're looking for. But you essentially have 3 gap ups after a really extended move on something that doesn't move like this. And then you have a doji on the last gap up, right? And then you have a reversal here with
talk about huge opportunity to be a big time island reversal here too, right?
Yeah. So to me, this is why the market rallied.
Yep.
You have, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of divergences, but it's been pushing into the nosebleed sections, because that's what 2022 has been. It's literally, let me push stocks as much, or indices, or whatever you want to call it, right? Until they can't be pushed anymore. And then I'm going to destroy you in a couple of weeks. All right. They did that for the first like 5 months of XLE. And then towards the middle of May, destroyed. They did it to XME. They did it to SMH. like you can literally go across the board. Is lumber, copper, gas, oil. Everything's been parabolic, and then it dies.
We'll see how this RSI uptrend plays out, but I think that uptrend line is looking ripe for a breaking.
Yeah, and so this is why I personally think we had a relief outside of anything else, is the strong dollar is coming down.
And we were talking last week about the dollar and what happens if a strong dollar gets weak.
It's a
Stocks
tailwind.
Go higher.
Yep. And you had your warning shot. What was it? When was that? That week with the high volume right there on your chart there.
Yeah, that was June 13th.
Right, that June 13th. That's your first warning shot, right? That this is what I've been talking about, right?
Like, this is overcooked.
Yeah. We went nowhere, and we increased a lot of volume. And now last week had a solid reversal on the highest volume it's seen since that candle. So this is where I think if this comes down more, which it looks like it's going to, then that's more tailwinds from the market, right?
Hey Nick, you were talking about
Snap's not a bellwether by any means. So.
You're talking about wanting to watch Apple and Amazon into this week. Either of those charts that you really like or don't like?
Yeah, I like them both. Amazon hasn't quite. I mean, Amazon broke out of like that. That kind of short, like above that kind of
Amazon to me
117.
is screaming 140s. Here I come.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, mid 140s. I think it's going after that gap fill. Amazon, Apple, Google.
I'm thinking 170 on Amazon, but hey, that's just.
I'm just talking short term. I'm not talking like by the end of the week. Do you think it's going 170?
No, I mean like in the next few months, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking
I'm
just
down
next
with
few
that.
months.
Yeah, but it's screaming like 140 soon.
Yeah, I could.
It's got that Wonder Woman W going on, man.
Yeah. Why the weakness in Google? I guess on Friday.
Elon was, stoiking Sergey's wife or ex-wife, I guess. No, I'm just sorry. I had to throw the.
Oh, that's right. That's what was
out there.
I saw that too. Okay.
I think Google's look at Amazon after it split. It's doing what it's doing, right?
Yeah.
I think Vince chimed in last week about Google being so bullish. That's the reason why it went bearish.
Sure.
Now, so when I was consistently writing my email, which I need to get back to doing at some point in the near future, when I was writing my email, that was one thing that I had touched on previously, Nick, is you're never going to get all of mega cap really running hard at the same time together. And if you get 2 out of the 6 going, that's not a bad thing. 3 out of the 6 is better. 4 out of the 6 is great, but you're hardly ever going to get 5 out of 6, and you're rarely, if ever, going to get 6 out of 6. And I just think it's, why wouldn't you, looking at the charts, right, and looking at the valuation, why wouldn't you rather put money in Amazon right now than Google, right? Like, is there more upside in Amazon or Google, in your opinion?
I'd say more in Amazon than Google.
Yeah, right. So Amazon's had the shit kicked out of it for the last year, basically.
4 years.
Right? Yeah,
4 years.
So why wouldn't you move some of that mega cap money maybe over there? or, even Apple or Microsoft, right? Like, so I think there's a little bit of where you want to place the hot money versus where you're investing. And I think right now Google's a little bit out of favor. And with that split,
Sure.
probably had a little bit to do with that. But, it's not the worst look I've seen, but it's definitely not as good as Apple or Amazon, in my opinion. Apple just looks absolutely fantastic right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Can we talk about my baby, my Netflix?
I thought we were going to talk about Roku.
No.
Yeah, we'll talk about Netflix.
That trades like crap. For I'm not even talking about just now. It's traded like crap since the beginning. It has wild moves, 50-70% moves all the time, like 2019, 2017. It's just a miserable stock to trade. Probably not a bad stock to hold long term.
Yeah.
But that's Netflix, right? We talked about this last week. If they had a positive reaction, it sets the tone, right? We talked about this. Well, I talked about
16.5% up week.
Yeah, and it's curling 9 week. It reclaimed it, it flagged under there for 5 or 6 weeks. And then we pushed higher on pretty solid volume on the weekly.
Yeah.
The gap is probably going to be hard to fill if it didn't fill it on earnings now.
Yep.
But that's.
I think you can check the tape. I think I said somewhere in this area is where I think, Netflix is probably good to get long on. If I were so inclined.
But that's so something that's been so beaten up had a pretty solid reaction to not great earnings, is that people are starting to like, and to me, as I've said, it's been the bull market leader. You can argue about everything else, but my general viewpoint has been the Netflix sets the tone for the markets, and it has for a really long time. It set the tone in January for exactly what happened afterwards. And now it's showing you that it's ready to participate again, right? And yeah, it could fail next week. I'll always add that caveat in now after 2022. But that to me is what set our tone in January, and let's see what it does here. But I think it sets our tone for the markets moving forward.
And I want to go to Tesla on that same note or thought, setting the tone. Tesla has, much like the Qs, was riding under that 9 weekly, and strong earnings pushed it back above the 21 and the 50, not as well as the 9, breaking that downtrend. I think Tesla looks great right here too. It was in one of those positions post earnings that, you never know what's going to happen in the after hours. And basically it was sort of in this 750, 740 zone, and it didn't look like it was going to break it, but the following day it certainly did. And if it didn't break it, I mean, it's in one of those positions of, a false breakout, but it didn't. It's breaking out, and I think that's good for the Tesla stock right now. So I really like the way Tesla looks too.
Yeah, it looks great. It held that 2020 S&P inclusion candle twice now. That low, the 627 low, it pushed up off that low after almost 2 months of consolidation. And the reality is their demand is still outpacing their supply.
Yep.
So having a bad, so to speak, quarter because a big manufacturing part was shut down, and they still crushed EPS is just testament to they're a pretty solid company, and they're going to continue growing at fairly decent paces along the way. That's fundamentals, but chart looks good too.
A mega cap we rarely mention lately, Meta. Bihanu wants to know what we think of Meta.
Send it to 0.
I mean, from a company standpoint, yeah, but
Yeah, I know.
I beyond it, I can't give you investment advice, but if the rest of mega cap tech is going to be strong, I think Meta would most likely. I don't know. To me, it would be hard to bet against it down here.
Yeah, and what happened last earnings on Snap's earnings? Meta got destroyed as well. So the same thing happened again. But then when Meta earnings came out, they weren't terrible from what I understand.
That's right.
Right? They were actually pretty solid and pretty decent. So it did reject the weekly 9 SMA, and also the daily 9 is closed back under. It's not a great looking chart, so there's not much to kind of be like, oh, I should get long. This is still in chop mode, and it could be in chop mode for years because they're making a major pivot. I think that's what you got to realize from this chart is they're shifting from social media to like the metaverse, and so far I haven't seen any reason for them not to continue that track, and that pivot's going to take some time.
Agreed. And we've talked about that previously with just going all in metaverse. Right now, it's just a money pit, which is a great investment for the future, but you don't want to really. It's hard to be involved and expect higher stock prices when it's investment years, right? And I think as far as the chart goes, not the best looking chart out there. But at the same time, I got to take that with a caveat. If the rest of mega caps going higher, it's hard for me to say that there's going to be significant downside for Meta. But obviously, we don't know that. Thoughts on Elon selling Bitcoin? And I'll take a stab at this. I think he profited off of the Bitcoin that he bought much lower. I bet he would have loved to have sold it, or Tesla would have loved to have sold Bitcoin at 50 or 60,000 as opposed to 20 or low 30s. So there you go. That's my thought on Elon selling Bitcoin.
I don't think I don't think it makes any difference to Bitcoin. I guess that's all I'll say.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah, like Elon, what isn't the reason Bitcoin's even sitting at 22,000? Elon was very late to the game in crypto, right? Like, it to me, he makes he gives no value here. It's short term maybe, but long term it has no conversation because it's not like he was the guy who was promoting Bitcoin when it was at like $100 and be like, yo, you should buy this. No, this guy bought in at $31,000, like, right, or whatever his average price was. So to put any credence into this guy who's waited for what, 1,000,000% higher to buy it doesn't seem like the right person to be following.
No, I agree.
What do you think? I think Bitcoin's still heading lower. I still think the crypto space in general is still going lower from here, actually.
So we're still at a very key level, Nick. I think, and let me pull up.
I don't think it gets higher than 30K.
So right now the weekly 9 is 24, and we went over that, but we rejected it earlier this week. I think anywhere around this 227, 228 level, I think anywhere north of there on a weekly close is a positive thing. We've got this RSI breakout happening right now, right here, which is actually, a good sign. I think 30,000 is a level to pay attention to, Nick. I absolutely think that you are accurate on that. I'll pull up the Granddaddy Bitcoin chart again.
I have 28. Am I looking at something different than you guys?
No, I just rounded up. 27,
Oh,
28 is
okay.
kind of what I was thinking. And then
Well, the 20
the
weekly is at 30, 3,100 through 34 right now. So
okay.
I think that would probably be a nice run if it got to there. But yeah, like 28,000 is the bottom of my blue box right here. That would probably be a place that you would expect sellers, right? Like just based on what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I was looking at 28,850 is the
Yeah.
kind of the area of where I think we can test. And on the daily, it looks like a mini cup and handle if you're into that kind of thing. Yeah, I think it looks
So-
pretty good actually here.
Yeah, we ran
personally.
into the 50 daily, which is near what the 9 weekly is. And coming back to the daily, I mean, you're sandwiching in here and you're flagging a little bit, right? Like you look at that, and that's a little bit of a flag going on. And
Yeah.
there's nothing to say it can't go higher from there. And if it does, I think 28's a reasonable level. I think, if you're really wanting to push it, you might get 30 out of it. But, I'm a
This
long
can be a
gamer
solid
here.
resistance area, right?
Yeah.
The 28, there's lots of overhead
Yep.
dead bodies.
Yep.
So I would imagine you're gonna feel some pressure there. The question is, will it be a small pressure to relieve that supply, or will it be a fundamental kind of like, we're just not gonna let this go?
Yeah. And you get to the point where you're working through this wedge here too. So I would expect somewhere in the fall is closer to where we're going to get some resolution on another leg lower, or we're going higher. So it's a nice way of saying we're in a chop zone pretty much, as long as it doesn't break from here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
So just one other thing, and I know we're talking about Bitcoin here for a second, and we're going all over the place, but I think you got to start looking at monthly charts here, because they're fairly important. And the Apple monthly chart, I think it's the first time in like 6 months that it's actually taking out the prior month's high, right? And this is before earnings, so it's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of other stocks that have done that as well, like Roblox, Chewy, there's definitely quite a few that are taking out the prior month's highs, and Apple is one of them, which in the mega cap world, I don't think Tesla's another one.
Amazon's
Tesla
on
took
play.
out. Yeah, but Amazon hasn't. I don't think Google has. That Meta definitely hasn't. AMD has not. Nvidia has not. Square has not. So there's still definitely a lot of pressure underneath. But it's nice to see that. It's nice to see Apple and Tesla taking out their prior month pivots.
Agreed.
So there's quite a few things to be watching, but I think you start from the highest time frame and you work your way down. And we have 4 days left in this month, essentially, or 5 days this whole week. So it'll be really interesting to see how these monthly candles look afterwards.
Nick's putting the kiss of death on old Vertex.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I was gonna say XOM reports this week too, right? I think that's
XOM?
Friday.
Oh, is that Friday?
Thursday. The 29th.
Yeah, the VRTX. Give it some time.
Yeah, and XBI has been a solid mover as well. Do not like that reversal candle, but we've had 3 or 4 of those in the last 2 or 3 weeks, or even longer, and we continued higher. So it's good to see if that continues to be. I expected this to be a massive supply zone, so I'm expecting resistance and stuff as we work through the supply.
And talking about those monthly candles, XBI, I mean, it took out the high of the last 2 months.
Yep.
But yeah, and the XBI in general, I think like if it does even pull in more than this, I think as long as it holds above like the mid 70s, it's going to still look good. The 50 days curling up.
I think you kind of want it to see it hold this level right here.
I mean, that would be ideal for sure.
It can, it can go down to like 77 or something like that, but you don't really want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at HYG as well. If you're looking at, this is corporate bond. That's saying, hey, okay, like this is investable again, right? Look at the
Yep.
volume starting to accelerate. It's starting to find a bottom. It could be an inverse cup and handle forming here, whatever you want to call it. But I like the look of this as well. And if you're looking at LQD as well, right, that's some decent buying volume coming in here. And you can argue that it was a bear flag, but bear flag usually rejects as the one did prior to the 9 week, and this bear flag did not reject. It actually broke right through it. So change of character here as well in the LQD. If you pull up USD JPY.
Yeah, I think you want to see that 115 level though. That was the previous high that also runs into the 20, right? So, but yeah, no, otherwise it looks very constructive. It's definitely a change in character than when it did this.
Yep. And this is stuff that I'm watching outside of the regular markets, because this to me is important stuff, right? This is investment grade stock, corporate bonds. So
what's the
are
other
they
one
buying it or are they selling it? The USD JPY, right? The currency.
Yeah, DOC.
No, USD.
USD JPY.
Yeah. All right, that's a pretty solid reversal candle, right, on the Japanese
weekly
end. So
yeah.
So just things to be watching here. Personally, is like there's signs, and obviously oil is taking a dump, and copper is taking a dump, and a lot of commodities are taking dumps. So
King Oil, you were so strong. Now you weak and flaccid.
only if someone saw it coming.
If only someone saw it coming.
If only.
I was just looking at the K-Web while you guys were talking earlier. I don't know when I drew this. But that was pretty solid rejection right there that I drew in. Can't remember when I did
the monthly 9. It rejected the first test of the monthly 9 since February 2021 or March 2021. So that was a hard rejection. I don't like that.
Yep, I think that's probably going lower. I when I was doing my chart rundowns last week, and just going fast on the fly, I gave Baba a look and I was like, yeah, that looks like a short. Alexa, turn off the timer. What's the timer going on for there? But yeah, that looked like a pretty solid potential setup for a short, and it certainly looks like it.
It's not a lot of volume, is what I would say. So I just don't trust anything that's coming out of this space at all. It just continues to chop and die and have crazy moves either way, and I'm just like, I'll wait till they actually decide to let it go.
Our guy Randy, hey Randy, thanks for always being here. He says he likes select small mid caps, and he gave us C1 and RCII. C1
is that Rent-A-Center?
Yeah,
Clearwater Holdings and Rent-A-Center, RCII. It sure is Rent-A-Center.
Yeah, well, it's a great. It's on my list of discounted cash flow stocks.
Rent-A-Center looks really good, honestly. And I'm not gonna shit you about that. It looks really solid. I like
it's got a solid dividend too, from what I understand.
C1, I want to go back to that one. I'm not so crazy about that one, Randy. We got a rejection off the 9 weekly there. Doesn't mean it can't go higher, but it could be flagging just like we talked about Bitcoin, right? Like that could be the play out here on the daily. But I definitely like the Rent Center. And he said cold. Somebody else said cold. America Cold.
Oh, Nat Gas short?
No, this is America Cold Realty Trust.
Oh. You gotta be careful with how you hold REITs, right? REITs are taxed differently than regular dividend stocks or stocks in general.
It's flagging on the weekly there.
Especially if it's an MLP. You just gotta be careful.
Flagging.
1 3 week.
So we talk about financials quickly. They almost
Yeah.
looked good, and then they got rejected. They didn't reject. They stopped right exactly at their 9-week moving average.
They did.
Literally like a 0.2 cents above it. It's crazy.
They did.
But that's
Yeah, Goldman versus 300. I don't think is a bad bet.
Yeah.
Goldman went up after they talked about layoffs. Which is crazy to me.
Oh, they're cutting costs, right? So
yeah.
Margins improve, all that other
Nothing
stuff.
has beat Citi though. Good old shitty bank is on the run.
It only took them 15 years. You know what's looking actually really good that no one is really talking about?
What's that?
Home Depot.
I talked about Home Depot last week. I liked it.
Oh well, maybe I haven't been on StockTwits because
that's okay, and I don't begrudge you for not knowing everything I twat out.
Yeah. But Home Depot looks look. I think that's the one of the highest.
I like Lowe's a little better, but now looking at the weekly close, I might like Home Depot a little better.
Yeah, it's strong, right? And this is, to me, this is weird because being strong going into the end of June is just an odd, like it's a seasonality stock that usually picks up steam going into like the summer months, not midsummer. So there's definitely changes in like how stocks behave, but I just thought this was fairly strong. It's a little overbought, but that's a pretty solid move for the stock.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good.
And Costco has just been just an animal. Just like looking at Costco's chart is like, why wouldn't you buy every single dip possible, right? And I know that at some point that will end as well, but it just looks phenomenal.
It's amazing. One of the best run companies in America, in the world.
Yep. They just go out and execute, right? Hands down, every year, every day, every hour, they're just executing. And then you have Snapchat.
Let's
look. And it's still, to me, it's still expensive. It's a $17 billion company after getting smoked for 40%.
Hey Nick, you're backing any miners?
No. I haven't even been paying attention to them. Holy shit. They've been getting whacked.
Gold looks awful.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. And if it looks awful, silver looks worse.
For whatever reason, I fucking hate them both, but Cell H and Monster Beverage both look decent.
Yeah, I think
God, I just fucking
all the metals, right? If you're looking at XME, like, yeah, like broke out of that. It broke out of that base after 10 years and then rejected hard, and it just doesn't seem to get any traction.
No love up in the club.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to go lower here, especially after last week's rejection.
What about some marijuana?
MJ.
And the 10-year note has come down quite a bit, right? No one's talking about how the rates are, that looks like it's about to fall off a cliff here as well. Right, like if you're looking on a weekly basis.
Yep.
It's been kind of in this island reversal pattern and under 2690.
We have 2 minutes before futures open. Up, down, left, right, sideways. Go.
Up.
Higher from here. We open higher.
We're going higher.
I'm just gonna say down just for the sake of it. You know, well,
Just taking the opposite of me.
Well, I'm just saying I gotta pick. Yeah,
I'm taking the opposite side of Nick, so I'll say up.
up. All right. That's
I
just
say
what
up
we're
just
just
'cause
where we're
crypto
opening,
didn't
right?
die. Yeah, just opening.
Well, I mean, longs want it to go up, right? Bulls want it to go
I
up.
personally think it goes up. It was a solid close. And it's
But the
Friday.
monkeypox.
It's coming back.
Well, no, the World Health Organization says it's a global health emergency or some shit yesterday.
Oh my god.
Monkeypox.
And they were so right about COVID. I must follow them.
Gosh.
It's why I'm gonna base life decisions based on an organization calls them the who? The what?
Who?
Who?
Say what?
Exactly. So I'm capable of making my own decisions in life. I don't need someone called the who.
90 seconds. 90 seconds.
Oh, 90 seconds. Are we doing a countdown?
I'm kind of doing a countdown because I've got kids who are banging on the walls upstairs, and I'm sure Mrs. Baggs is like, "Will you hurry the F up and get up here and feed these children?" I don't know if you can hear that, but they are partying upstairs, and not in a good way. Anyway,
The kids.
Yeah.
I came down to stretch at like 4:30 this morning, and to both of my two oldest pulling a freaking all-nighter, trying to stay awake the other for no other reason than just it's summertime and they wanted to see who could stay up the longest.
it's also Mrs. Baggs' birthday too, so
Oh shoot!
I might
today?
I might be in a little bit of trouble.
July 24th is Mrs. Baggs' birthday.
Yep.
Happy birthday to Mrs. Baggs.
Yeah, we've had a good day.
These July birthdays are great.
Yeah,
get so crabby
you
around
both
my birthday.
birthday boys this past week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another year around.
But I
the
did tell you to
sun.
get out of the pool on the day my birthday started, right?
Because you're peeing in it.
Yeah. Like it's you only get happiness to your birthday, not the day of.
Oh,
That's supposed to be the case.
Oh, okay.
But
30
we're
seconds.
looking at. Yep. I think on a weekly longer time frame, as we're waiting for futures, I think Roblox is a chart that looks really good to me. It's not going bananas. It's pretty much been sideways since February. If you're looking at something and you wanna check out the charts and stuff, I think Roblox is starting to curl up on a lot of different time frames. And we're green.
And here comes the selling.
Green it is.
Well, it
It
opened
is,
green,
fairly.
but it's going red.
Yeah, probably. Not that this is important at all.
No.
20
We just like to have our gentleman's wager on this of ha, I told you were wrong and I was right.
Well, that's been the crazy thing this year. Most of the action has been real-time hours, right? Like it hasn't been overnight. There's been nonsense that happens overnight, and then a lot that happens during the day. So it's been good to see that kind of change, that shift, so people can participate.
That's what I liked about Tesla and Netflix, like the reaction there. Like I hope we see more of that.
Then it's actually tradable, right? Like versus it gapped down 40% like Snap, right?
All right, gents.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We did another one,
guys.
Got to run. Have a great day, GP, in the future.
We'll do. Thank you.
All right, guys.
I guess catch you later.
All right, later.